family by accident because my parents could not get a babysitter for Christmas Eve. And so my dad rented English costumes, top hats and things, and scarves, and dressed us up, and the whole family walks down the aisle at the beginning of the Christmas Eve service, as the introduction to the service, singing carols, because we didn't have a babysitter. And we ended up, when I was 16, our family moved to Holland. My dad was on the sabbatical leave, studying in England and Germany, so it was in Holland that we lived. Matter of fact, I dropped out of high school when I was 16 and went to graduate school. Was a viola performance major at the Royal Conservatoire in Holland with classmates in their mid-20s. The next year I came back and was a junior and a senior in high school the same year in Oklahoma. My first hour was senior English, my second hour junior English. I aced senior English and B+ junior English. But the bottom line is I've been singing, my whole life, and the things that we're going to talk about today, I would have given anything if I had known these things. Nobody ever explained these things. I don't think anybody ever knew these things. But in the writing of some of my books, I ended up sitting down, especially with my oldest sister Julie and her husband Guy. Between them, they sang 7,000 opera performances all over Europe for 30 years. And I really tried to get them to, to talk about singing and technique and put it in normal words so that we could, for the first time, understand it. And it's amazing when you know the simple things about mysterious terms like tone placement. It completely changes your life, makes it easier, and you're 2 or 3 times a singer. You can take any 70-year-old singer anywhere and have them sound 50. It's true. Okay, so most floor clinicians do not know your world because almost all people who do workshops, their whole job is working with audition choirs that don't have blemishes to begin with. All they do is teach notes. That's not what we are. I've 53 years conducting volunteer choirs, 47 years community choruses, all of which I founded. 30 years full-time church music, 15 years full-time high school choral and orchestral director. Besides 500 choral workshops at every state, every province. But I know your world. The reason I do this is because I believe in it and I love that world. So today's serious question is how can you enhance your own voices and therefore build up what your choir does for your community and for the churches. So here's my take about the concern we are facing today. My own community chorale and most of the choirs that I know in my area of Philadelphia, their average age is now about 60, with very few members younger than 50. So millennials and Gen X eras, if you Google them, if you do a Google search, you find out crazy things about them. But those people are anybody 50 and younger, and they are not interested in tradition. They are kind of very self-serving, and the only way to get them back into our church choirs and community In my last church choir that at the end of my 30 years at full-time church music, I left that choir 20 years ago. I've been back once in a while to see that choir. 85 to 90% of all the people in that choir are people that were in the choir when I was in the choir. And they were already old then. And now they're 20 years old. So we have two things to do. And we can only take care of one of them today. We've got to know how to recruit new members. And by the way, if you get on the GIA website, I wrote a major article about surefire recruiting, double the size of any choir in any church. And it's an article that is still available. You can go get. But let's get on to the other thing. Lots of seniors are singing now, and it's a wonderful thing in some ways. It's also a growing concern. So the average age of church choirs, we all know, has already risen. But watch out. Baby boomers are just getting going. The first of us, and I am the first of them, began reaching retirement age 6 years ago, which gives us more free time than we didn't used to have in a retired people. And the percentage of seniors and volunteering going to choirs is surging. And we think that's as bad as it's going to get. Baby boomers will still be retiring for the next 14 years. 14 years, you're going to have more and more older singers. And we're going to try to get younger singers in. But for the older singers, well, what do we do now? So, let me remember to get this going. These are the aging choirs. Singers must, when they get older, when they're younger, singers have kind of natural physical reactions and things, and they slip them by problems, that you get by. You don't really have great skills, but you get by. But when you're a little bit older, like we are, like I am, then you've got to be proactive, and you have to think what you're doing. Okay? So the way to do that is to explain the mysterious terms of singing in accessible terms that anybody can understand and use. So the former solution to aging voices. How many people have seen this movie? How many people should see this movie? Everybody! I'm telling you, this is a movie about San Francisco, which is why it's without snow. The movie is based on a church choir, and John Houseman, famous traditional actor, he was a former big-time college conductor, choral director, but then in his retirement, he decided to take a job in a volunteer church choir. He never worked with a volunteer, and he was going to teach them the Messiah. They had never sung a performance before. This is the first third of the Messiah, the Christmas portion. And what I love about this movie, somebody who wrote this movie knew about church choirs. Every single member of your choir is in that movie. Every kind of person, everyone. But the reason I really bring this up without going any further is one particular person, and you all have this person too. An older alto with a heart of gold. So much about helping the choir. Takes care of the rubs, takes care of the music, takes care of, lining up the choir, does everything. Heart of gold. But her voice in the movie, you can hear, is this movie, she does say to him, it's a good thing that you're there and not here. And, because you are not tough enough to take what you just said to me, but I am. So I will still do the ropes, I'll still do the library, I'll still do everything for you. Okay? And then she walks away to him. But that made me really get into this idea. Wait a minute. In retirement years, that's when people especially, their lives will be enhanced by singing. And the churches need them, and the communities need them. And it's a wonderful thing. But really, back in my father's time, when he was in the middle of his church convention, anybody that reached the age 60 was asked out of the choir. Yes. So, this is the book that we're going to be talking about today, Rejuvenating Senior Voices. It's actually more important than that. I have high school directors who bought this for all their high schoolers now, because the things that are explained in here are for all singers. Younger ones can slip away with it, but they need to know it. I wouldn't have done anything to know the things that are in this book when I was young. Okay. So, how I became interested in senior voices and helping voices get younger, sound younger. Well, my mom, a lot of you know her, she conducted a choir in her retirement home until she was 95. And then she slightly retired. She only cut it down to one concert a year until she was 97. But when she was about 95, and she only lived a half an hour away from me, I got a frantic phone call from my mom. They were only a week and a half away from their first big concert of the year. Not a big choir, not as many men as women. And the two best singers in the men's section died. And she said, I don't know what to do. So I said, don't worry, Mom. Hey, I'll join your choir for the next 2 weeks. And so I started going, and I sat in the middle of the tenors and basses. I sang whatever part needed, I was immediately impressed by the passionate enthusiasm and the joyful attitudes of these senior singers. I just couldn't believe how much they loved to sing. I couldn't believe how dedicated they were. It didn't sound great. But and I caught myself wishing that my community chorus members could sing with such passion. Bam! It hit me. The perfect choir member would have the attitude of a senior singer, but a younger sounding voice. So during my mom's rehearsal, I started listening closely to the seniors, and writing down the notes to myself. And then I asked my mom if I could give all of her singers free voice lessons, and I would try to figure out, what was the same, what was the problem, I had to become creative ways to make solutions. And I came to the conclusion, that yes, we could improve voices, and that we could help singers know what proactive steps to take to improve their own voices. So what are the common concerns of adult singers? Running out of breath. Can't get to the long phrases. Throat gets tight and sore. Loss of high notes. Cracking voices. Inability to project. And phlegm in the throat. Well, these vocal concerns begin creeping into anyone 50 and older. They do, not just seniors. So, do directors have any concerns about older singers? Old sound. My country is lack of energy. Singing flat. Wide vibratos. Now, wide vibratos are handy if you don't have many women, because you could have one soprano sing soprano and alto at the same time. And voices that stick out. So, but what do most directors do about it? They live with it. They don't do anything about it. But we can do something about it now. So enough about the problems. How can we solve them? The paths to problem solving, we have to understand that the root causes of any of the problems that you have, and we've listed already, and we are still going to list, they are all rooted in understanding the vocal concepts: posture, breath support, tone placement, open throat singing. Now, I've heard people yell, I've heard choir directors since I was young saying, better breath support! But they weren't doing good breath support. They didn't. I've never heard anybody explain it. If you were to yell out, hey, better breath support, what would most people do? They would tighten their belly. And that's the opposite of what would help. You know, if I had you all each take a piece of paper and write out what you thought the perfect singer's posture was, how many people would be right? Nobody. If you go to the Alexander technique, the great technique that work with professional athletes, that work with violinists, that work with all, they would say there is no good set posture. It's perpetual lengthening. It's fluidity of the body, you know, and the spine, and so it's a different feeling than this. No. Okay? So we're going to explain all that. Problems can be solved. So these mysterious terms, what do they really mean? First, I'd like to explain which vocal concerns are related to each of these individual fundamentals, vocal fundamentals, and then explain in accessible language how you can use this to help your voices. Okay? So, what are the vocal concerns caused by insufficient posture? Old sound, listless singing, and the sense of need for increased warm-up time. Okay. So, I hired Cary Grant. No, who is that? So, I'm going to go through this. Okay? The first thing you do, one of the problems in singing has to do with the sacroiliac, back here, you know, and the fact that we don't use our whole bodies, we're just using our larynx. Okay? So the first thing you do, see if this squeals, okay, is look up at the ceiling. Breathe out when you do it, because you can bend further. Feet apart. it's elevated. Okay? And so that's what all this, posture should be. Now, and we're going to do this in just a minute, but when seated, if you want to have great posture when you're seated, well, posture shouldn't be any different from standing and sitting if you're singing. Okay? But it's a little awkward to know what to do. And what people used to say is, get your buttocks on the edge of the chair. Okay? Wrong. Wrong, because what that does is tighten the updraft on the wall and slow down the airflow. You put your butt back, but then you arc your back. And you sing like this. And that's what the pros meant when they had to sit for a rehearsal for a while. They never sit forward, they sit back. Okay? And another thing that is, was the old days was wrong. And they used to say, get on your toes, sit on your toes, put your weight on your toes, backwards. One of the greatest singers in the world, the Met singers, the opera singers all over Europe, whatever, they say, put all the weight on your heels, and that elevates your spine. Okay? And then that relaxes your throat. So those couple of simple little things. Now, there's a lot of information here. This book, I don't know, I see a lot of you with this. May I see that book just a minute? Okay? This book has illustrations and explanations of everything that we're going to talk about today. And for any choir I have, I've never dealt with it. And in fact, I bought 3 copies for 3 or 4 church choirs. Because if you look at it yourself before rehearsal, remind yourself of a few things. Wow. Then you remember things that are important. Okay. Other images. There are a couple of things here. One is, if you can imagine yourself as a ballet dancer. Just when you're getting ready to sing, if you're holding your music, here I am, and all of a sudden the voice relaxes, and everything about the voice is better. Okay? And actually, it's more fun to sing, and it's so much more productive. And even if you can't stand, you can still do that. Now, talking about sitting. If you want to increase your posture when you're sitting, put your feet a little bit apart, okay? Put your shoulder blades together, arc your back, butt in the back of the seat. Then push up slightly with your legs, activate the thighs. All right, then did it. If you're just sitting there, and your legs are crossed, and then it doesn't work. But if you're coming up with something and you need help when you're singing, activate your thighs. Just a little bit. And all of a sudden, everything is better. Everything is better. Okay? Now, it goes back to what I said about being proactive. You've got to think about a lot of things. Now, I'm an avid tennis player. I was a tennis coach and ping pong coach. But with tennis, I still take an hour lesson from a pro every other week or something. And after every lesson, I go to the computer and write down every possible thing that I remember about that lesson, and I send it to the coach. And I say, correct it. And the coach sends it back to me with what I got right and what I got wrong. And then I never play unless I look at it. Okay. Oh, okay. And if I'm in the middle of a rehearsal or in the middle of a game, and something's not working right, I pretend I'm taking a bathroom break, like, how are you doing? Oh, okay. Hi. And go back and conquer. Okay. So, another handy thing here. Now, I tried to get Kevin to do this, but he refused to. I wanted to buy all of you big red suspenders for the day. But pretend that Kevin did that for you. You got your suspenders on. Okay, are you ready? Matter of fact, before I do this, in about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Okay? First of all, how does the voice work? Get this guy out of the way. If I were to blow as hard as I could between these two pieces of paper, what would you instinctively say would happen to the paper? That's called the Bernoulli effect. That's why we can sing. That's why we can talk. That's why airplanes can fly. It's because in a flow of air, there is less pressure exerted, air pressure, than the stagnant air on the outsides. So the stagnant air on the outsides are overpowering the flow. Now think about this with an airplane. Here are the wings. We're talking about 757 with all those people in there. They're the wings. Okay, they're curved. Why are they curved? Here's the flow of air. Here's the stagnant air that nobody's touching. The reason a plane can fly is the stagnant air pushes the plane up in the air. It overpowers the flow. So what about the throat? Here we are. We have the larynx. There are no vocal cords. I didn't know that for a long time. I'm also the violist and violinist, and I thought, oh, must have some kind of strings in it. No. Okay? So here's your larynx. This is, and then when the air comes through, it sucks these two flaps of skin. There are no cords, there's folds, vocal folds. Two flaps of skin. And the air sucks them together until they touch. Okay? And then the elasticity of the skin pulls them back. The air touches. That's where the sound comes from. There is no muscle in here. But almost all singers, in many pros even, they think you got an issue here. No. What you do is get out of the way. Let this be involuntary. Okay? And then you figure out how to bring the air out. You don't do anything in there. And then you can sing for 2 or 3 or 4 hours and not get tired, because you're not working your throat. But how do we explain that? Okay. We're going to do that now. Okay. Sternum-centered breath support. First of all, I'm going to, in each of these things, I'm going to teach you about 5 or 6 different ways to think about it. A couple of them will resonate with you, or you might go back and forth, with other singers. But I want you to put one fist on your sternum, okay, and with your other fist over it. Okay, now, right over like this. Now pretend that your larynx, the voice apparatus, is right physically below your fist, not up here. And now say, oh! Oh! Now here's your throat. Listen. Ah! Oh! Oh! Has nothing to do up here. There's nothing up there. Nothing. It's right in here. That's a way to trick you. If you sing God Bless America, or something like that, or listen. God bless America. It's up here. But if you pretend your voice boxes right up this, God bless America. God. That's simple. It's a simple thing. The director just goes, it'll remind you. Okay? So, next, and this is the most important, this is the greatest teachers, voice teachers in Europe, teach the greatest singers this. The medieval fire-breathing dragon image. Okay, this is true. This is the best way to learn breath support. So, there was a legendary village, and there was a dragon out in the near woods, and they didn't like that dragon. It was a fire-breathing dragon. So they abused it, and he didn't like it. So one day that fire-breathing dragon comes to the hill above the village, takes a deep breath face like that. Keep your body like that. Now do it again, but don't make any sound. But make everything else happen. Now, any note that you sing, you should feel that physical reaction. Hey, if you don't do aggressive work, and if you're having a problem with the note, burn down more villages. Okay? There cannot be, and if you are doing breath support right and putting everything into it, you'll have more air left over. Because if the vocal folds are coming together efficiently, no air is escaping. If you're not using breath support, air escapes unused. I'm out. You can go forever. Okay? So that's important. Another image, the trampoline image. For a while I did pogo sticks, but people don't know what they are. The trampoline image. There should always be a feeling of trampolining when you start on trampling from down in your body. You remember the old days when you get on trampoline and, okay? Well, that should have that feeling. It's got to go down. And if you are finding there's pressure in your throat, stop, swallow, and then trampoline. Let me trampoline this note. No problem. Trampoline. Okay? Now, I don't know if you know these new technology, but anybody know what a cell phone is? Okay. All right. The cell phones came into, avid use. My 5 last years when I was teaching high school completely changed the school, changed everything. People don't talk to each other anymore. But when you talk on a cell phone, we used to be required to take, classes in not only acting but enunciation, projection of sound. So we talked like this. But now today's, no consonants, no power, no breath support, nothing. Okay? So, would everybody now pretend you're on the phone and you're going to sing, sloppy, quiet on the phone. God bless America. Here we go. God bless America. But you were just about to sing, and you look at the back door, way back there, and your best friend of your life that you haven't seen in 20 years walked in that door, and you wanted to sing it to them. God bless America. Do it. God bless America. All you have to do is long distance singing instead of cell phone singing. God bless America. So you look back. We learned that. I sang in the 7th Army Soldiers Chorus when I was in the Army. We lived in Heidelberg and sang all over Europe. But one thing we learned was, in your peripheral vision, look at the conductor, but sing to the back row. Sing to the back row. Don't sing to the conductor. That's not good enough. Okay? So, the rest of your life, be long-distance singers, not cell phone singers. Okay? Now, so now we get into tone placement. And what the heck is that? I never heard anybody that had any idea what tone placement was. And it's such a mysterious term. I had to do a lot of figuring out and talking to a lot of singers and try to come up with something. So, what are the vocal concerns caused by inadequate tone placement? Poor enunciation, especially consonants. Inconsistent voice quality, sometimes it's better. Flat singing, tuning problems. I would say 98% of all tuning problems have nothing to do with whether or not you have a good musical ear. Nothing to do. Nothing to do with what you're trying hard enough. It has to do with tone placement that's further back in the throat. It's easier to sing on pitch and off pitch. All you have to do is get the right tone placement and it goes right on pitch. Right on pitch. Okay? So, loss of high notes. You go, oh, and the voice closes off. And, tone placement. Okay? Now, a difficulty projecting low notes. One of the difficulties is male ego. Because bassists want to prove their masculine image. Because it feels more powerful to them. But what do the pros do? The greatest bossos in the world, the pros, they brighten and lean as they go down. Which is still on pitch and not flat. And it projects. Okay? And feeling of phlegm in the throat. I'm going to explain that in a minute. The feeling of phlegm. Anybody ever have phlegm in the throat? That's part of life. Your voice has to have moisture. It has to have, phlegm in there or it won't work. But the problem is you don't have enough space back there. And we're going to show you what to do about that. So what is tone placement? Tone placement is a feeling of where singing sound is being aimed. Now think about that. When you're singing, am I aiming the sound or is it falling out of my mouth? If I aim at someone, then all of a sudden it clarifies everything. All right, so this improves projection, accurate pitch, high and low notes, and enunciation. So, how to improve forward tone placement? Oh, look at that guy. The biggest thing you can do is to understand the term flaring the nostrils. If you go to New York City, you pay $200 for a little lesson with a great voice teacher. Probably have to pay more than that. They will take the first hour and they will simply teach you how to flare your nostrils. And so I'm going to do that in the next 5 minutes, and then we're going to pass the offering plate. So, take the tips of your fingers, get the hands free, make the tips of your fingers touch the place where your nostrils and cheeks come together. Where you feel your fingertips on your cheeks, raise your cheeks. Way up. Leave your cheeks up, drop your hands. Every great singer in the world has their face in a pursed up, high cheek, kind of a feeling. It's just like that. That's what they do. And that simple thing. Look, if it says, my country, all I do is flare my nostrils. My country, 'tis of thee. That's flaring the nostrils. That projects the sound, doubles the power of the choir, and clarifies all the enunciation. Okay. So, take the tip of your tongue and feel the dome above the tongue. Feel that dome? That's called the hard palate. A lot of people aim the sound right there. Do that. Ready? Is your face up? Now, the thing about putting your face up is they also say, opera singers, they hate it when they hear choirs say, open your mouth, because they say to each other, close your mouth. Because if you have what they call visualization, a smaller sound going up over the back of your eyeballs. Sing that. Your cheeks up, smaller mouth. Yeah. Now try to look pleasant. I don't believe, even in the soldier chorus, we didn't sing like this. You know, everybody's loosened up. So the best thing you can do is have the choir stand up there at warm-ups, walk around the room and dance while they're warming up. Because they don't want to be stiff. They want to be loose. Okay? All right, now, so let's practice this. Say with a down and dull face without the flaring nostrils. Hi, how are you? Now, do what we said. Cheeks up, small mouth. Get cute, go. Hi, how are you? What you just did was tongue placement. And if you take that right into firm foundation, firm foundation, it increases everything. Okay? But you need to start with something we understand. And probably everybody in your choir, you know, can say, hi, how are you? and then say, hi, how are you? Hi, you know, and then go from that into the piece of music with the same technique. But start with something accessible. And there you go. Okay. So, another way to explain this, if you take a piece of music, and these are all different images. You have a choice. You put this music in your mouth, and you're going to sing, hi, how are you? Okay? I'm going to sing all of the sound under the paper. Hi, how are you? Now I'm going to sing it above the paper. Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Now if you think it's a little too bright, we're going to get to echo, adding echo in just a minute. But what you really want is a lean, bright sound that has some echo. Okay? Now, that sound I've been doing, that's where the tone placement's falling back down the throat. Oh. What you want to do is to get it in the top half of the face. And that, you know, all these things make singing so simple and so productive. Okay, so, what do you do if you or your choir, and you know, sometimes I'm talking only to directors, sometimes only to singers, maybe both today, what if you have your choir that one day is singing thick and dark and heavy and flat? So sing for me just the melody. Jesus loves me, this I know. Jesus loves me, this I know. Now I want you to pretend that you're just, you know, they've been at a big party the night before and there was a lot of stress in their life and everything. Jesus loves me. So we should sing it over like that, right? Jesus loves me, this I know. I tell you, I've heard choirs like that, you know, and I didn't expect it. And what do you do? Well, I came across a solution. Okay? So, we have just hired you. We're paying you $1,000 a person. Kevin, you're okay. $1,000 a person. Okay? And you are going to be the voice for a cartoon character in a Disney animated movie. And you're going to make it real silly. You guys drive me. Now, don't be upset about religiously. Just do that. Right now? You guys drive me. Yes, I know. Now, is that good or bad? You say bad, but no, it's good in many ways. It's good in tone placement and leanness and clarity and pitch. Now, all you have to do is have better posture, a little smaller mouth, okay, but keep the leanness. Jesus loves me. Here we go. Jesus loves me, this I know. Now, remind yourself of the old one. Jesus, here we go. Jesus loves me. See, if you hear then be a little cartoony, go a little toward the cartoon, and then round it. Jesus loves me. Then you have both worlds, okay? So the best sound is lean sound with a warm, echoey color. They're perfect partners. Okay, a little summary of tone placement. When taking a breath before coming in on a phrase, what are you thinking? The most important thing, well, first of all, is what I always do. I touch myself here, and I've been singing all the time. I push my chin back so I get my head up like this, go to the balcony, okay? And then I imagine, where am I sending the sound? Don't just sing. Imagine where the sound is going and send it there proactively. Send the sound there. You don't have to be a pro to do that. I mean, the fact is, most church choir members are smarter than most pros. So why don't we just learn skills? Learn skills, okay? So when you take a breath to sing, check out the things we talked about. Your low back, shoulder blades, your face, where you're aiming. And get in there. And then all of a sudden, it's such a joy. Okay. Let's go on. Something I didn't say, and I don't know why I didn't say it, but I'm going to go back to it. And that is in breath support. I mentioned breath support and enunciation. What is a consonant? Yeah, a consonant is something your lips, tongue, palate, different things. But, and I've heard choir records yell, more consonants, more consonants. Well, that doesn't help. Because the only problem with consonants, what is it? A consonant is a temporary stoppage of the vowel. Here comes the vowel, here comes the vowel. And when the vowel hits it, it keeps pushing until it breaks through, and that's the consonant. Here is what almost all singers do. Here comes a vowel, here comes a vowel, here comes a vowel. The vowel starts again. Like, the words, so loved the world, so loved world, so loved world. But if you sing, so loved the world, if you don't back up, all the consonants can be heard. And if they can't be heard, it's simply because you're backing off the vowel. Okay? So that's back to breath support. Keep that breath going when the consonants are coming. Keep it going. Okay, now we can get back to what we were going. What are the vocal concerns caused by a lack of open throat singing? Voices that don't blend. Lack of richness and tone quality. There's no warmth in the sound. And nasality. Like that. Okay? And actually, most people think nasality is bad, but nasal resonance is extremely important to clarity. It's just that you have to add some echo to it. We'll see that in a minute. Okay? If you close off your nose, it falls back in the throat. So you leave that open. And you go like this. Okay? So, the real problem is that open throat singing, the terminology can be misinterpreted. If you tell your choir members, or your choir director tells you to sing with an open throat, what is the reaction? You try to expand your throat, you throw your larynx down, and you almost choke yourself off. Okay? But you don't want to mess with the larynx at all. And when you breathe, you want to breathe in through your upper teeth, along the top of the roof of your mouth, and straight back out. Right back out. voices. Increase the echo in your voices. So, how do we do that? All right, you have handouts, don't you? And I think the handouts have a thing called open throat singing. Got it? Okay, sopranos, sopranos and altos together. Just sing on wah, wah, wah. Wah, wah, wah. Here we go. And wah, wah. So, soprano and altos are on the top line. No tenors will be soprano. Okay? Do you have it in time? There, that's it. It's the first page inside. Got it now? Okay? Now let's do it a different way. Sing for me, everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Some people think it's silly to put numbers with notes like that, but that came from the Parish Conservatory. That's a special way they teach there. So now, soprano and alto. Soprano's on 8. 1, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Choose the numbers. 1, 7. Go down. 1, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 7, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 7, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. You have the music? Okay? Do it together, soprano and altos. 1, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Come on, a little more fire breathing rapid. Okay? Now, tenors bases. 1, 7, 1, 2, 1, 5, 1, or 1, 5, 1. Here we go, ready, tenors bases. 1, 7, 1, 2, 1, 5, 1. Now, I hate to reprimand you, but put away your cell phones and do long distance singing. 1, 7, come on, go. 1, 7, 1, 2, 1, 5, 1. Now everybody together. And altos, overpower. Here we go. 1, 7, 1, 2, 1, 5, 1. Now we just sing them. Oh, I know, I know, I know. Okay? With those words. Here we go. 1, 7. That's right. Wait a minute. Oh, I know. Use those words. Why? Because oh has more echo. Oh, I know. Here we go. Ready? Oh, I know. Now you're at the Grand Canyon, and you've heard about the echoes that they have. You know, you'd like to see if it works. Okay? So put your music down. If you have make up the notes, Mom, put your hands up like this. You're going to make a great echo. Make 100% echo. So because here we go. Is that the most echo you've ever done? I think you better add 20 more percent. Here we go. Come on. With echo. Ready? And put your hands up. Rebecca, put your hands up. And sound like the Mormon Catholic choir. Now, would you all give the same amount of echo with great posture but no hands? The same amount of echo. Same amount. Here we go. to a choir, all right, give me 100% echo. It'll double the sound. People will go crazy. It's just marvelous. What a simple thing. Teach people what echo is, then teach them with some simple tune, and then take it into what you're going to sing. Okay? That's really, really important. Okay? If you're going to do this yourself in choirs, after you do this, then put your hands out like this, and aim all your sound into your cupped hands. And then do it without it. And that gives you one more part of the journey that's easier. That's what this is. Okay? Okay, significant reminders. And this is a powerful way to end this thing. You know, if I could say to you the things that you need to remember today and remember the rest of your lives, every time you go to rehearsal, these things. Adjust posture. So can I see you all adjust your posture right now? Butt back, arch your back a little bit, shoulder blades together, look cocky, look arrogant. All right. And that's going to be so much fun in rehearsals. You know, so relax now. And second thing, lift your facial muscles and flaring the nostrils and the upper lips. And this. Okay? So, then you have a little signal. If you want to go out and if you can afford it, buy a straw and put a straw in your mouth before you go to rehearsal, maybe in the car. And then what that feels like in your lips, that's how big your lips should be. You sing like this. You sing like this. Not like that. Like this. Okay? Now, peripheral listening. What's that mean? Okay, what's peripheral vision mean? That's why you don't have to look at the director. What you have to do is have the music high enough that in your peripheral vision you can see if there's any problem. You can stay right with it. Okay? But peripheral listening, so many people in volunteer choirs, and even pros, they are only aware of themselves. But what music is about is a community of notes coming together and community of singers and players coming together. And so you should be very aware of the other people sitting around you. You should be very aware of the other sections in the choir and how your notes deal with them. You know, like are you having a little duet? If it's SATB, but the altos and tenors have a little duet, the other two parts should be singing choir, and they should bring this out. But you're not going to be aware of that if you don't have peripheral listening. Okay? It's much more fun. It's also fun to listen to the accompaniment. Because there are times where the choir fades down, and the accompaniment should come up, and then it goes in, the choir comes back up. There's so many artistic tendencies that can increase the beauty of your choir's music that just, the only artistic instinct should not be the director or the accompanist, or both. Every one of you. I tell you, even with the full orchestra, I did this 2 nights ago with Brahms and Beethoven. I was conducting orchestra. If they're not together, I said, okay, now the responsibility is on you to raise your level of artistry. And I'm going to start it, and I'm going to walk away. And you have to hold it together yourselves. It's magic. And I said, why can't you do that with me? Okay? I can help get you started, but you must be artists yourselves. So every one of you need to have artistic instincts. Believe that you have something to add. Believe that you have some way to convey and interpret lyrics. And you make a big difference. It is not about the director, it's about you. Okay, schwization of all vowels. Schwization is a fancy term. In fact, when I wrote one of our books, so we had to figure it out at GIA. I tried to explain that we found this term. It is a true term. But an like the word father, should have a little bit of oive in it. in the book too. An A, especially an A-N or an A-N-G, a short A. Even the great Broadway stars, they change all short A's to a short E-H, A. Like the word and, it sounds terrible, but and it sounds the same, but it has more forward placement. In, instead of in, okay? O, here's the American O. Oh, big F O. But here's a European O. Oh, look at my mouth. Ow, oh. Same thing on the U. Ew, ooh. So if you get that pursed lips, naturalization, I've got about 2 minutes left, and I'll save time the next time. Okay? So, singing through final notes. If your final note is a U, it usually dies. How do you keep it from dying? How many syllables in the word U? U has to have a subtle, distinct ending. U. A what? It's a W-U-H. Not that you can hear, but that you have to feel you're going to it and you're touching it. U. U. Do that. U. Oh, there's what, but not you. What? Shut up. Oh, not you. Okay. You. See, you make it subtle, but as long as you know you're going there, that whole note is beautiful. Same thing like day. Okay? Lots of things. Okay. Next thing, only 2 left. Get in sync with the director. Okay? How do you know to do that? Okay? Let's pretend you have music in your hand. Would you hold your music like this? Okay. Now, look up at me. Get your posture, shoulder blades together. Mark your back. Look straight at me. Don't look away from me. Don't look away. Now, hold your music up until you can see it in your peripheral vision. Now look at the music. You don't ever have to look at me again, because you can see me in your peripheral vision. Okay? The problem with choirs that are not together with the director is that the music is down here. And look what it is at their throat. Okay? Okay, I got it. Okay? Why bother improving the sounds of voices? Improving vocal skills enhances the sound and confidence. Sound and confidence. You know, if some of you, I imagine, many of us have been through this saying, well, I think I'm losing it. I'm not quite the singer I was. And your confidence goes down and your joy goes down. But if you use the things we just talked about, you know, and you improve the sound and you improve your confidence, you improve your joy. And the sound emanates. Everybody feels that. Okay? So, singing with better quality and more energy inspires choir members to be the best they can be. Okay? And that's what we want to do. You know, it's not a criticism, it's that, you know, why not do all we can? Why not be as smart and as good as we can be? We can do that. We can all do that. Let me hear you say yes.
Yes! If I could just do a quick commercial break here. For those directors that are present, this is the book that you need to take home with you. And thankfully to GIA Publications, they are offering all of these materials at a discount today. So take advantage of that if you can. If you're not a director, this is the perfect Christmas gift for your director. This, as well as Michael's newest publication, which is Igniting Choral Rehearsals with Efficiency, Artistry, and Motivation. And it includes 17 fully annotated sacred anthems in the back. We don't always get a chance to see what these guys have in mind for their interpretations of pieces. 17 of them are in this book. And finally, the last one, the innovative warm-ups. There is a singer's edition that's discounted to $5, and there's also the director's edition of that. that. So these will be available through lunch, and then we're going to put things away because we've got
What to say about warm-ups. The reason I wrote this book is that 90% or more, probably, of all warm-ups done in America in the last 30, 40 years are detrimental to voice and artistry. They are not. They're not good because they do not approach the things we were learning today. So this innovative warm-ups has 33, 34 brand new warm-ups that I've written, but each one of them is for a purpose and a style. So if you were looking through anthems, you say, oh, and you can pick, in the innovative warm-ups, actually, I chose one of these warm-ups for each of those 17 anthems that specifically gets your voice and your artistic ready for that kind of thing. So if you do a warm-up, and then you do Palestrina, you kill it. You kill it. You got to think. You got to join together everything you do in a rehearsal.
Thank you. We have 15 choirs represented today, so we're very grateful for that, as I said earlier. We will take a 15-minute break, and then we'll call you back for some rehearsal.